I think the movie was missing one thing. Do you want to know what it is?
Sure.
I think that Superman and Lex Luthor should have kissed. Hello, so there will not be spoilers in the majority of this video, but there will be a dedicated spoiler section. I will give a warning beforehand, and there will also be timestamps in the description to navigate around if you have not seen the film yet. Thanks! So, a new Superman movie is officially out in theaters today, and everyone is acting so totally normal about it. If you're out of the loop here, there's a lot riding on this particular film. It's not a new thing for comic book characters to get rebooted in a new way for the big screen, but DC has done this a lot in an attempt to rival the Marvel Cinematic Universe, falling on its face quite a bit along the way. This sucks for a couple reasons. One, because I actually like the DC heroes more than Marvel's characters. If you're new here, I'm actually a huge Batman fan, so it was frustrating that they could never quite get it together. In fact, the last time they attempted an MCU-like franchise was with Zack Snyder at the helm, directing Man of Steel, a solo Superman movie starring Henry Cavill that came out back in 2013. What followed then was, in my opinion, a lot of garbage. I have nothing against Zack Snyder as a person. I know a lot of people love and cherish him, but God, I fucking hate every single superhero movie that he has ever made. There's a lot of critique here. The ugly visual aesthetic, the head-scratching writing.
Kill Martha! Why did you say that name?
It's his mother's name! And the fact that there was an intense pressure to make Superman dark and gritty and realistic, almost as if to harken back to DC's success with the Dark Knight trilogy, and that's not really how Superman functions as a character. Meanwhile, James Gunn had wrapped up his work over at Marvel Studios after some dumb bullshit happened to him that we don't have time to get into right now, and once Zack Snyder gracefully bowed out of his role as the DC architect, Warner Brothers fired away. Get it? Because his last name is Gunn. James Gunn directed a reimagined version of the Suicide Squad and a series called Peacemaker, but once he got the keys to the kingdom, he was given an impossible task: reboot Superman, but make it good this time. It was a Herculean feat for several reasons. One, there's a myth floating out there that it's hard to make Superman interesting because he's like this perfect, unflawed hero. Two, because he had a blueprint of what not to do and a chorus of haters who will still defend those choices to this day. And three, because DC desperately needed to make this work due to audience fatigue with one too many of their incredibly shitty movies. And along the way, he had naysayers, the Snyder fanboys, the anti-cape shit crowd, and also Fox News for some reason.
And I went to the Yankees at Mets game yesterday at Citi Field, go Yanks. And you should see the people sitting for the national anthem for God Bless America. It's really just, I can't believe that we've come down to that. And I don't know, we don't go to the movie theater to be lectured to and to have somebody throw their ideology onto us. I wonder if it'll be successful.
You know what it says on his cape? MS-13.
Wow.
Is it superimposed or it actually says that?
It is super.
Just on the knuckles.
Superimposed.
One more thing is up next.
You see, James Gunn is what we in the pop culture sphere call a lib. This is not surprising, and you'd think it wouldn't be a big deal considering that conservatism is the dominant culture here in the US at the moment, but these people still have to whine about how they're the victim all the fucking time. Anyway, the main thing that kicked off this reactionary insanity was that James Gunn said that Superman is an immigrant. I mean, Superman is the story of America, he says. An immigrant that came from other places and populated the country, but for me, it is mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and is something we have lost. Now again, I'm not as brushed up on my Superman lore as I am about a different caped crusader, but from what I understand, Superman in some ways has previously been interpreted as an immigrant allegory because he is an alien that seeks refuge here on Earth. And even if that wasn't the case, it's a logical interpretation to make in this particular era, considering that comics, especially Superman comics, are like a mirror to whatever's going on in American culture. James Gunn responded to all this backlash by saying that above all, it's a story about kindness.
Oh, you said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA?
I don't have anything. I think this movie's for everybody. I don't have anything to say to anybody. Like I'm not here to judge people. I think this is a movie about kindness, and I think that's something everyone can relate to.
Of course, the typical actors here went on to angrily proclaim that Superman is woke now, that a story about being kind and doing the right thing, especially in the face of adversity, is pussy shit, actually. It's more cool to be mean and hateful and crush your enemies with brute force. Please like us. We're the good guys now. Please. Why don't you like us? So Brian and I saw the movie last night, and we enjoyed it. It's a great time. But it's definitely a reactionary film. It's almost rage bait in a way, and I think that's really smart. We recorded our thoughts on the walk home from the theater, and we'll be talking very generally about the plot and performances, but again, I'll make sure to denote when we're getting into specific spoilers, and you can skip the spoiler section using the timestamp tags in the description down below. I am frustrated that this is going to be like the culture war movie of the rest of the summer, probably.
I'm excited about it.
But like, he made it like that intentionally,
Yeah.
and in a way I think that's kind of brilliant because Superman is so associated with like the Americana aesthetic, right? And like is the pop culture kind of thing. And it makes so much sense. Like it's brilliant to sort of frame it that way.
Yeah.
And to frame like the main conflict in the way that it is in the movie, and like Lex Luthor sort of characterizing him the way that he is. It's brilliant. It's just, it was kind of made to make people mad.
Yeah. Which is great.
Basically, this movie absolutely reflects the times that we are living in. We'll get into this more deeply later, but Lex Luthor is quite literally meddling in foreign affairs that strongly resemble IRL political happenings, and that's what kicks off the whole plot. Additionally, Lex himself is characterized in this classic petulant egomaniac way, but you can tell it's supposed to be this Bezos-Musk hybrid. It's not enough that he has money and power to do whatever he wants, but he also deeply, severely wants to be liked. It's characterized in more subtle ways too, like they make references to little monkeys that are held in a dungeon to troll Superman online, and Lex locks away his girlfriends who talk bad about him in literal jail. It's not a timeless movie by any means, and I think that's smart. For example, Brave New World was a Marvel film that was supposed to be more political in nature, but because Disney was afraid to actually make any commentary on anything pertinent to our world, they played it safe, which really caused the film to fall flat and have no stakes. So I think this film had to be the way that it is, especially because it's not a classic origin story. I think the only critique that I have, and I think James Gunn was sort of given an impossible task here, was that like it's very different. It's like a breakneck pace. They kind of drop you into like his story as it's happened. You don't really see his origin story because nobody wants to see his origin story. We've seen it a million times before. So in that way, it is very different than the typical superhero introductory formula.
Yeah, it's I actually really appreciated that because I am tired of origin stories.
I was telling Brian when we got out, the tone, weirdly enough, what I can compare it to is like Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Just with like how fast it moves and how many things are happening, and the way it is so confident in its ridiculousness.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So if you don't like the silliness, you know what I mean? It's not like Nolan's Dark Knight. You know what I mean?
No.
Not that anyone was expecting it to be, I guess.
Well, I think it's that we've moved past that era, and I think people do want a return to bright, fun, just like pulpy superhero movies that we did used to get in like the 70s and even like the early 2000s, and that kind of went away to become like so serious, and everything was like end of the world, universe shattering, which is still in this movie, but like it doesn't feel too forced.
So yeah, there's a lot going on here right from the jump. You are just sort of dropped into Superman already doing his thing. The dialogue is really fast moving, and there are a lot of jokes. Some have argued too many, although the humor didn't really bother me. But there are some moments where Gunn tries to allow the classic emotional core of the film to really peek through. There are also a ton of characters, and some of them are also metahuman in nature, some of them are comedic relief, and some of them get less to do than others, but for the most part, I think they all work. I was worried that this was going to try to shoehorn too much other DC-esque stuff to set up future movies, but for the most part, everyone here supports Superman's story and character. And speaking about character, let's talk more about those performances. David Cornsweet.
He is Superman.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic performance. I am not as familiar with the characterization of Superman on screen, as I have only ever seen the Snyderverse stuff. I have not seen the Christopher Reeve films.
Terrible. Terrible.
Not Christopher Reeve terrible, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Batman is my special interest, so Superman's a little bit out of my forte.
You have to watch the original 1978 movie. I'm gonna make you watch it.
So, given that, I think David Cornsweet did a wonderful job. I think he's characterized in this really kind of like almost adorable, pure, idealized way, but they present it in a way that still gives him enough conflict, which I really liked.
Yeah. Just so much, like, there's so much heart in that performance. Like, you can sense how important this was to him, like, to take on this role. And, like, like, a lot of it is, like, not to compare it to Christopher Reeve too much, but just, like, again, the hopefulness, the quirkiness when he's Clark Kent, which you honestly don't get that much of in the movie. It was perfect. I thought it was pretty solid casting when it happened, just by, like, his looks. I wasn't familiar with his acting. I saw him in Twisters. That was, like, the first movie I kind of saw him in.
Right, yeah.
But even then, I was like, yeah, like, that dude can act. That dude has comedic timing, and he's fantastic. Thoughts on Mr. Luther?
I thought Nicholas Hoult, who I have been a fan of for such a long time. Warm Bodies, I was there. Were you all there? Let me know. Nosferatu, Sideburns. I mean, he's a great actor, and I think he's great in everything he's in.
Yeah.
This was so good. He's like such a highlight for me. And he's not doing he's doing his own kind of take on it. He's not doing a corny imitation or interpretation. You know what he's meant to evoke, sort of like the Bezos, Elon Musk, like, type of character in that universe. But never does it feel like it's like too much or it's too corny. It very much feels like its own thing.
Yeah, he, I don't know, he was just like, every time he was on screen, he was making me laugh, like the faces he would make. Like, he also just, like, totally gets his character of Lex Luthor. Like, I don't know, it felt like, I'm also kind of a Superman fan fraud in the sense that I don't know the comics, but I have seen pretty much most of the mainstream live action movies. I don't know. Yeah, I think he's right. Like, he's right up there, like, with Gene Hackman. And I mean, haven't been that too many people to play him, but, like,
better than Mr. Eisenberg.
I think so. I love you, Jesse, but I don't know. And we don't talk about Kevin Spacey. We don't talk about Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor.
When did he play him?
Superman Returns with Brandon Routh.
Whoa.
Yeah. Also, I want to, like, really. The supporting cast was all like fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Every single one of them, I think, got like a solid moment to shine. Like, I did read some things going in that, like, the Daily Planet team is a little underutilized.
Skylar Gisondo as fucking Jimmy Olsen was cracking me up, though. He was so
Rachel
good.
Brosnahan as Lois Lane, just perfect. Like,
yes.
That casting was made in a lab. Like,
yeah.
To be fantastic.
So good. I love that she actually has a personality. She's not, like, annoying. Like,
why, you reminded of the Amy Adams Lois Lane?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, just she's not, like, whiny and annoying. She's an actual, like, cool character with a fun personality, which I like. Okay, this is your spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. But as I alluded to already, there is a straight up political conflict that is driving the engine of this film. As I read more about it, I think it was probably written more as a reference to Russia and Ukraine, but as you sit down to watch it now in 2025, there is more of a pertinent comparison that one can make. The biggest thing that was so surprising to me is what they let James Gunn get away with in this film.
Yeah.
Because the main conflict essentially centers around literally like an alternate universe version of Israel and Palestine. And you think that, like everybody who was saying that before I saw this movie, I was like, oh, it's like thinly alluded to.
It's so in your face.
People are just being like whatever, like dramatic, but no.
It's very pointed and has a very specific message, and I really respect that. I'm almost stunned.
I can't believe Warner Brothers let him do it.
Yeah.
I really can't. They make like a caricature Benjamin Netanyahu in this movie. Basically, Lex Luthor is selling arms to the president of one country that is invading another country, and he's doing this to essentially manufacture consent from the US government to kill Superman for trying to stop this war. One country is portrayed as a militarized aggressor that is allied with the US, while the other is depicted as sort of this ragtag rebel group of resistors who treat Superman as sort of their own resistance symbol. Not to mention that the immigrant metaphor is on full display here as well. Superman is routinely referred to as an alien, parentheses derogatory, and at one point in the film, Lex uses anti-immigrant violent outsider propaganda as a means of instilling fear in the humans around him. At the end, Superman tells Lex that while he may be an alien, he still feels and breathes and loves as a human. Speaking of love, this film is beautifully romantic, not just in the ways that it chooses to pay homage to the source material with the theme music and the feel-good tone and characterization, but I really like the relationship here between Superman and Lois. My favorite scene in the film is one where he and Lois have a subtextual conversation through an on-the-record interview that gives a lot of layers and conflict to both of their characters. I've seen some people complain that the relationship felt too rushed or forced. He tells her he loves her after like 6 months of dating, but I don't know, how could you not be idealistic and romantic about this whole setting and world? And speaking of the whole world, between this and Matt Reeves' Batman, I think the future of DC might actually be pretty bright. So, let's talk a little bit about what this means for DC, because there's a lot riding on this film.
Yeah.
It's their like nth attempt at making shit happen here.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically, like, I think it's a pretty solid jumping off point. It actually doesn't, I mean, like, it does world build, but not to like an overwhelming amount. Like, even the post-credit scenes, like,
They don't set anything
really,
up.
Like, yeah, but like, I think the vibe, like the tone of the vibe, is like certainly very distinct from what Zack Snyder was doing.
Yeah.
Which I think is what had to happen. They were intentionally going in a different direction.
And I've probably said this in the video already. I hate the Snyderverse movies,
Yeah.
so this is like a welcomed change for me, I think.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's cool about it is like they establish how different it is from like all the other universes that these kinds of movies have taken place in.
Yeah.
You know, like it just seems like a lot more kind of naturally comic booky in nature. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And we're not kind of just like constantly droning on about like existentialism and like, you know what I mean? Like that's done. That era's done. Was this a perfect movie? No, I don't think so, but I think the film needed to be a lot of things, and I think it succeeds at like 90% of them. The Snyder fanboys will hate it, the anti-woke crowd will hate it more. The online discourse about it will be insufferable probably until like Labor Day, but I think most normal people will have a fun time, and that's who superhero movies should be for, right? This movie made me feel really hopeful, not just for like the future of blockbuster films, but also for like the world. I love that this movie is all about unapologetically preaching a message of kindness, like James Gunn said. There's nothing cynical about it. There's no real brooding, overly cynical, philosophical questions about superheroes and their place in our world. It's so different than a lot of the other superhero movies that I've seen within like the last 5 to 10 years, and I think that's great. Thank you, James Gunn. I am still gun-pilled. He doesn't jump the gun, he is the boom boom gun, bitch. I think that Superman and Lex Luthor should have kissed.
You always think that about most main characters in movies, though. And you're not wrong, but like, you're definitely not wrong here, but like, that's like your takeaway from like every movie.
Drag me.
Yeah.
Brian, real quick. Soup or man?
Man.